Today we have Black Locust. This comes to us from my very good friend Gary. Many of you know Gary from his videos as the Papa 1947. He and his wife brought this up 5 years ago, along with several other pieces of wood. We traded some wood up here in Washington. He's from Oregon, and it's been sitting here all that time, and today's the day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop. Howdy, let's take a closer look at it. The first thing you notice when you pick this up is it's heavy. It's very dense. Very tight bark. I love that thin line of sapwood around the heartwood. Seems to go all the way around. That's pretty cool. This was a full log. I cut it in half. This way I have two pieces to use. Looks kind of light brown to almost yellow color. I'm anxious to get going on it, but I do think it's going to be a tough turning. Like I say, it's heavy. That means it's strong and it's going to resist whatever I want to do to it. But we will pursue it and we'll win. I'll betcha. So what I'm going to do is find the middle of the top here. This will be the top. I'm going to drill a flat spot, a big flat spot for my chuck jaws to set against. Then I'll drill a hole in the middle of that for my woodworm screw. We'll get it mounted up on the lathe and get to turning. I'm going to start from the top side down, coming this way to try and keep that bark on there. It looks nice and tight, but you never know. We're going to be turning at a little over 500 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. Oh yeah, see that sapwood looks so nice there. And the bark staying with us. Pretty hard wood. Yep. I'm gonna go sharpen up. Oh, that's just so pretty. I think it's probably safe to come up from the bottom now. I've got the bark edges rounded over. Hopefully they won't lift up on me. Okay, we're round. Now I'm going to come down here at the bottom, flatten it off, lay out for probably a tenon, and then finalize the shape over here. See if we can pick the speed up any. How about 700? I'm going to use this diamond point tool to square up the sides of the tenon. That's good. Now I can move back over here to the side, shrink down this base a little bit, and see what we can do about a final shape on this piece. Well, I noticed that when I was drilling the flat spot on the top, look how flaky the whatever that is. That's a cambium layer right under the bark. Is that what they call it? Cambium. Well, it'll sand away, but it sure doesn't want to cut away. But speaking of cut, that's pretty good. Doesn't really even need scraping. Nothing particularly special about that shape, but we're not wasting away a lot of wood trying to come up with something. Works for me. Time for sanding. I'm going to start the sanding with my Sandoflex. This is 180 grit. I think that will do. I might have to go to 120, but I think this will work. This bark is very close to cork oak. Cork is more spongy than this is. This isn't spongy at all, but it is very soft. So I think 180 is going to do the trick. This bark was all covered with moss. I used a wire brush and cleaned most of it off, but there's still some on there. I'll be using that. When I'm done with that, I'll switch to my 2-inch disc starting at 80 grit and working up through 400. I'll have the lathe spinning in reverse for that at 350 RPM, and I'll show you what all that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. Yeah, that's going to do the trick. Like I said, it's pretty soft. Come clean pretty easily. And that's pretty dang easy. I'll bring you back here in a bit and we'll put some probably sanding sealer on there. See you in a bit. I don't remember if I said this was tight grained, but if I did, it's not. Pretty open grain actually. I'm not sure where it gets its weight from. And I think it's just really going to soak this sanding sealer up. And this raggedy stuff here, whatever you call it, I think I said cambium, I can't get it to go away. So I'm gonna be brushing the bark. I'm also gonna be brushing that area right there all the way around because it's, and then when it's dry, and I'll sand it, and hopefully that'll take it off. It needs to be hardened up, but it just won't go away. I actually kind of like open grain wood because if you don't overdo it with your finish, you can still feel the grain through the finish, and I like that. So this is shellac based sanding sealer. I'll apply at least 2 coats of this, maybe 3, whatever it needs, and then 2 coats of shellac over that. And I have a short video that shows what I do between coats. Well, it's a pleasant looking wood, nothing spectacular about it. Nice color. The bark makes a nice contrast. It turned real nice. I guess I don't have anything bad to say about it. But I think this will do the trick. I'll be brushing the bark along the top over an inch, inch and a half, whatever, up this way. That's about all I could get sanded. So that's what I'll be doing for a while. I'll see you when it's time to turn it around and start working on the inside. I've turned the piece around and have the tenon mounted up in the chuck. I brought you in close so that you can see this stringy material. This is from when I drilled the flat spot for my chuck jaws to set against, and then I had to chisel away a little bit more for clearance for my chuck body. That really, that stringy stuff, whatever is in there with it, really gummed up my Forstner bits. I had to use a wire brush to clean them. That's the stuff I showed you on the outside right next to the sapwood. Well, on the outside I have a beautiful finish except for that. It's still, and I really packed in the shellac too, and it's still like that almost. Not quite that bad, but almost. You can certainly feel it. So you'll probably see me tearing into that as we turn. And we're going to be turning at 1300 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. I wanted to save this little feature right here that might make it too thick of a rim, but I could probably save at least half of it. So I'll come out here a little bit further. That's interesting, isn't it? So far, it hasn't gummed anything up. Yeah, that's probably thin enough. I want to leave, you know, it's pretty cool bark, pretty different. So I want to leave a goodly amount. I've certainly left more than that before, but that's probably about right for this one. Well, what'd you think of that? That went flying, didn't it? I did not expect that. All that bark came off. Just a little bit over here on this side. I was just gonna shear scrape. I just barely touched it. Now let me see if I can find them. I doubt if I can fix it. Yeah, I can't find them. I don't know where they went. I found two. I think that's the part I was trying to keep. Or maybe, no, that's it right there. I think whatever that stringy stuff is, yeah, it's just fiber. It ain't doing anybody any good. So I guess, doggone it, I was really digging on that bark. Yeah, see, it just peels right off. Lesson learned about that. I was about to comment that I'd heard that Black Locust was really difficult to turn, and I wasn't having any problem whatsoever. I thought it was really easy to turn, really nice. I don't remember the issue being the bark coming off, but maybe. So shall we try for a natural edge, or should I take it down to round? Well, if I take it down to round, then we're gonna lose that white stripe right here. And I don't want to lose that. So somehow I'm gonna have to, I guess I'll wire brush this. I don't know how far down that goes. Well, I'll turn the camera off and mess with it for a while. What a mess. And I'll be back. Well, it's time consuming, but it's working. This stuff is a lot thicker in some places than in others. I'll keep working on it. I'll be back. Well, let's hope that's all the excitement for the day. It cleaned up really well. It did take some time, kind of tedious, but it's really smooth. I'm going to run sandpaper over it when we get to the sanding part, but it's surprisingly smooth, and I think I got rid of all that stringy stuff. Of course, I like this. And if you can see the outside of this, it's really cool because that white sapwood comes around here and then it comes up into this and then comes back down It's really cool. So I want to keep that, but I am going to get closer to it. I'm going to get right to here. So we're going to have probably a 1/2 inch thick wall on here by the time we get done. So we're still turning at 1300 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, freshly sharpened by the way. Mask and face shield on. Yeah, that's good right there. You can see a little compression grain right there too. Hopefully you can see that. So that's not a bad thickness. I can live with it. I hope you can. I'm going to shear scrape here just a little bit, and then I'm going to remove the center and we'll go on down. Well, I pause here a moment from bowl turning. I was recently asked to show how I use my bowl calipers. This is my bowl calipers. These are Sorby brand. Near as I can tell, they don't make them like this anymore in this particular shape. They certainly do make some, and they make one at least that's similar to this, but not quite as exaggerated across here. You'll find them on Amazon or probably any place where you buy turning tools. It's just a simple matter of, at least as far as reading them, it's a simple matter of whatever this says is the same thing this says. Now it doesn't tell you a measurement, but after you've done this a while, you just know. You just know. And I've checked myself and I'm very good at knowing. If I say it's that size, well, that's 3/16. We could measure it, but it's 3/16, I promise. And that's the same thing on this end, 3/16. I'm imagining that my bowl bottom here, we'll measure it in a moment, is probably about that, which is probably about 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches there, 1.5 inches here. You use whichever end works for you. It doesn't matter at all. Whichever one fits the bottom of the bowl and the inside of the bowl the best, just use that one. I used to always use this one, and then I found out that this one seems to be easier to use. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what I think the bottom of my bowl is right now, about 1.5 inches. Let me show you how I go about figuring that out, how I place these on the bowl. I might try another camera position. Unfortunately, I don't think I can show you the inside and the outside at the same time. But you just put this inside here. Hopefully you can see the tenon inside there. It's inside these jaws. And when I put this in here, this right here is butting up against that tenon. So you just put it in there like that, close it up on the inside of the bottom, and you look at what's out here on the other end, and it's 1.5 inches, just like I thought it would be. That's just something that you learn. Let me try a different position. This is one reason I don't show this stuff, is because I got to move the camera 10 times, and when you're in the midst of doing something like this, that's not fun. You kind of lose your train of thought. Plus I have to wait for the camera to quit moving. After I move my camera arm, it wants to shake a little bit, so I have to stand here and wait for the shaking to go away. Now if this was a recess instead of a tenon, it's really the same process, except the jaws, which you see way inside there, which are now gripping the tenon, they would be in a little further and they'd be spreading out inside the recess. In that case, I want to get into the recess, which is really the same exact process. I just want to get in there a little further. I can't do it because the tenon's on there, but on a recess, you just get in there a little bit further to the bottom of the recess and then close them up and see what you have on this end. That's all. See if this view makes it any easier. I doubt it. Now you can't see where I'm going to poke it in because it's over here. It's on my side. I guess I could go, maybe I can go up here. That's awkward, but it's possible. And then you just close to to the inside of the bowl, and whatever you're reading up here is correct. Now where is up here? Well, let's see if I can show it to you this way. Can you see out here what I have? Can you see right here? 1.5 inches. You see it right here? Now they do make calipers that have an actual measuring device on them. I can't remember. They look very awkward to use to me. I don't know any brands or anything, but I think I've seen them with a gauge on them somewhere on the caliper that shows you in inches or in metric, whatever. And then as far as on the side, I basically don't do it on the sides. It's the same situation. You put it inside the bowl, and then on the outside of the bowl. But I don't like that because, well, first of all, I don't need to. I just use my fingers. You can just use your fingers. And your fingers are an excellent gauge. If you haven't done that, I'm sure most of us have. It doesn't matter what it is. If it feels right, then it's right. If it feels wrong, you know, too thick, take off more. If it's too thin, sorry, too late. But I don't like to do this because one time, only one time, I did that, and then I pulled back on them, and they put a scratch on the outside. These are very smooth. I don't see how they could put a scratch on there, but they did. So I don't like to do that. I just do this. Now if the bowl gets too deep to where I can't reach in there, then I would, but I would just measure like that, and then look at what I have over here, and then I'd open them up. I wouldn't pull it out of there. I wouldn't pull it out while they're still closed, because that will put a scratch. So I hope that helps. That's how I do it. It works. And that should do it. We should now have a 1/4 inch bottom. And we do, exactly. Okay, nice flat bottom. We do have some tool marks in there, but they're gonna sand right out. I know that because I sanded the outside and it was easy peasy. So, time for sanding. I've got the lathe spinning in reverse at 360 RPM. I'm starting at 80 grit with my 2-inch disc, working up through 400 just like I did on the outside. I'll bring it back in a bit and we'll put some sanding sealer in there. See you in a bit. Well, there's one bonus to the bark falling off. Maybe you see it, I'll show it to you in a minute here. Sanding went pretty dang easily. Very sandable wood. Sure was easy to turn. I don't know where I got the idea that it was difficult to turn. I'm sure I saw that somewhere. Here's our little bonus right here. It's almost like a little burl, isn't it? And we just would not have seen that with the bark on. Kind of like a little crown. This is sanding sealer just like I applied on the outside, and it just takes 2 coats of this. It is an open grain wood, but it doesn't soak it up too bad. That's nice. I like the way this crown goes all the way inside there. The start of a branch, I suppose. So there you go. I'll apply another coat of that and 2 coats of shellac. I'll bring it back and we'll take the tenon off. See you in a bit. The time has come. I mounted a block of wood up in my chuck. It's got a non-slip surface on it. I'm going to place the bowl over that and bring up my tailstock. I still have that center hole there for reference, so I can just drive my live center right into that. And that'll help center it on that block of wood. I'll bring up the tool rest. Turn the speed up. See if it's running true. It is. Turn the speed up to about 600 RPM. I'm going to grab a 3/8 inch bowl gouge and commence removing that tenon. We'll stop and check for clearance. And by golly gum, we got clearance. Just keep working it away. Now that's pretty small. I'm going to turn the speed down to about 400 RPM. And I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch swept back bowl gouge so that I can get in there a little closer. Now it's really small. I'm going to turn the speed down to about 200 RPM. And I'm going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl. Right hand on the gouge, left hand on the switch. And when the little nub stops turning, we'll know we're through. Now I'll just take this over here to the workbench, sand that up, sign it, get it finished, and I'll be right back. Be sure you stick around to the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. If you'd share the video, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, here it is. One Black Locust natural edge bowl in the books. And it's pretty dang flawless now that it doesn't have any bark on it anymore. Dang it. But that sapwood accent line all the way around, that's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I think it is. There's really nothing special about the bowl. I mean, it's nice. It's actually perfect. There's no flaws in it that I can see. Love that little piece of jewelry on there. Kind of like a necklace or a crown or something. There's the bottom all finished up. It's just a nice little bowl. I gotta go look up why I thought this was hard to turn. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a lot of fun to make. High speed is always good for me. I love that. You know, I mentioned the white line, but I guess I didn't really even notice the dark line. That's really cool too, isn't it? That highlights it even more. And it's all the way around. Yeah, okay. So we got like three things. We got the white and the dark, and then we got the bowl. And a crown. Or a necklace. Okay. Thank you, Gary, for sending this along, or bringing this along, for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up, please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. And thank you so much for taking your time to spend with me today. It means a lot to me. I'm looking forward to your comments. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.